normal guy. We could talk normal guy shit. Welcome. Rule zero.
Yep.
It's summer, so people come when they come. Right now, it's John and me. How you doing, John?
I'm doing good.
Dude, you're
It's not hot yet, so
really.
well, yeah, it's only 8:40 here, so it's still not too sweaty.
Oh, I thought you meant because it normally is hot, right? Because I don't know if you
Well,
know this,
yeah,
but
by like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, it's gonna. Oh yeah, you might see a beat of sweat or two, because I'm out in the garage.
you still got it lucky. On the west coast of Canada right now, it's like 47 degrees, something like 130, and towns are burning down. Like we're fucked. But I guess that's not really the point of the topic here. Hey guys, thanks for your patience. It was the point was male spaces. And this is actually good because you've been part of a male space, like an MMA gym, professional fighting club. It's kind of one of the
Hmm.
better spaces ever. I'm going to throw something up here, something very old from the Red Pill, like in 2014, and then I want to hear your thoughts on it. It's this guy, Ian Ironwood. He was a marketing psychologist for the porn industry. And he talks about how men organize. And he says right here, male social dynamics have two major parts. The first part, in which men are tested for their fitness for membership, and then the second, which, after having passed the test, they're accepted into the group almost wholesale. I don't see this in female social groups. In fact, I see the opposite: immediate, superficial acceptance, followed by an undercurrent of obfuscated and passive aggressive challenges from the inside. How much does that jive with your actual experience?
100%, especially in a fight gym. Like, you could be a member of that fight gym for 6 months and no one will say hi to you, because we have so many guys who come through the door, get the shit kicked out of them, and then never come back. It's like, why am I going to take the time to learn your name if you're not going to be here in a year?
Dude, a guy in my chat my last podcast said that he joined a boxing gym and nobody even talked to him until he started
Won't
sparring.
won't look at you in the eye until they actually get, because you're not useful until you prove you're useful, and then they'll accept you or whatever. But like, it takes time.
And then I guess with you guys, like there's always every I used to train with Adam Zuzek back in Victoria. I don't know if you know him. He used to train like Sarah Kaufman. That was her trainer anyway.
Okay.
But like there was always two or three girls that joined the gym too. And I noticed the same thing. They didn't like they were always happy go lucky, love to meet everybody, but they always got catty. Like after your 3 months where guys like you, for example, would learn my name because I'm actually gonna stick around for more than a year.
Mm.
And they always ended up having like issues with everybody and starting drama. And I don't know. Do they like at your level of MMA training? Did they
We
have
never
girls at the
had
gym?
that problem. We never had the problem at AKA, because we were all killers who had a job to do and a mission to do. And if you were in our way or weren't helping that, like, you didn't exist. You got pushed to the side. So if you were somebody creating, drama or some shit, you were just pushed to the out. Like, we're not even going to deal with you.
Really?
We had, like, dude, like, it was pretty phenomenal. But like, it could have been because we had so many guys, but like the guys at the top, we wouldn't fuck around. Like, we're not goofing around or playing grab ass with the girls coming in to train. So like, we never had that issue, because we had the guys who were at the top who only had their eyes on the gold, and that was it. So like, it didn't matter if there were like girls around, like girls in the gym or whatever. We never had any problems with it. But I've heard so many problems from other people, even jujitsu programs. Like,
Yeah.
it could be a jujitsu program within our gym, not a part of our fight team, and there'll be problems there.
Jesus.
They party together, something happens, and then somebody played grab ass at the wrong time. They got too drunk, too comfortable, and then now there's drama. But like, we never had that issue.
Do you have any idea how fucking rare that is though?
Yes, like AKA,
Yes, I do.
yes, the AKA is a very rare situation, I think, for sure. And I think we had so many guys that were at the top tier and so focused on what we were doing that, like, there was a lot of like, little cliques that formed too, like certain circles. 5 or 6 guys here that always did things together, 5 or 6 guys here that always did things together.
Yeah.
And maybe there was one or two of those cliques that had issues, but like, it never poisoned the well.
Well, I assumed it was more of a competitive thing then. So like our crew versus your crew, who's got the better fighter? But I guess that's kind of like mission focused, right?
We are always like, this is AKA, we're family. We do everything here. We try to force things to be in house a lot too. That could have been one of the problems with people with a lot of the other gyms, is because
Oh, they
Some
can do
guys
the
would go
dirty
here for
laundry.
sparring. They'll go over here for jujitsu. They'll go over here for their boxing training. So they're going around for different gyms all the time. And I think when you're doing that, there's more opportunity for things to get screwed up. We were like, no, if you're going to train with us, everything's here. You're going to do all your sparring here. You're going to do all your jiu-jitsu here. You're going to do all your boxing. You do everything in one place, or get the fuck out because you're in our way.
Jesus, really? Now that's like I
We're
have to ask
ruthless,
because I've
man.
never
Like we
done.
didn't, you don't produce the amount of champions that we've produced without that ruthlessness. Like it's not allowed. Like we're talking about the amount of money, the amount of work, the amount of shit we're going through. Like we're not going to tolerate your bullshit. Get out.
Well, fuck,
We got
dude,
girls on
that's
the
awesome. I'm actually
yeah.
curious though because I've never trained boxing, and so I don't know your trainers were they like primarily grapplers or strikers or whatever, but like. I know for a fact a guy thinking I go to the best boxer to learn boxing, I go to the best like jujitsu guy to learn jujitsu and that. I know that's the one thought. So how is like what was your title they gave you? It was like the fastest road to champion or the youngest road to champion of any MMA fighter. Wasn't that like I hate I should know your brags better, but I know you know them better than me, so I'm gonna let you run your mouth on this one.
Oh
But
no, I was number 2 in the world for a long, long time. But
yeah.
I think what happened and made kind of us unique with AKA was that we were mostly wrestlers. When we came in, when we first started, it was like a handful of guys who wrestled in college on some level. Some guys who had some grappling experience, but like mostly it was collegiate wrestlers. And like
Oh, okay.
we took our knowledge from being collegiate wrestlers and brought that into not just the fight stuff, but like the actual practice and how practice was run and how it was structured. And I think that was a great building block for how we built things up because we weren't like a coach team. We coached ourselves.
Which is
You
cool.
know? Yeah.
Well, and that's my question to you. Like, so you got a group, wrestler guys, and you may not have the greatest boxer or the greatest striker in the world there. Did you find the benefits of not only being like a tight knit group like that, but a cohesive training style? Did you find the benefits of that far outweighed the fact that there was maybe a technically better boxer in another gym?
That's the thing, though, is we had, the Bay Area. There was a lot of people who knew how to fight. There's a lot of people who, our guy who started AKA Javier Mendez. He was ISA kickboxing. In the '80s, like kickboxing was a big deal in the Bay Area, especially. Mm-hmm. So there's tons of people around who are good at kickboxing and Muay Thai.
You better not say some shit like Don the Dragon Wilson trained you or some shit. I swear to God, I'll come in my pants if you say that.
We might have pictures of him up around or something. But there's also really great Muay Thai guys in the area too, because we're not that far from, people coming over from Thailand. And then you have tons of jiu-jitsu in the area also. And then you had every once in a while you run into some of the Jeet Kune Do guys who used to know, Bruce Lee or whatever. But like
dude, tell me you have a Danny Inosanto story. Please.
I don't.
You fucker.
I don't.
God damn it. What's the point of having this fucking podcast now?
I met a few people who were the Jeet Kune Do guys, but I met them through Frank, and then Frank's relationships. Frank Shamrock they're always kind of leash. So yeah. You always, when you meet a guy, and every person that's like when I moved out here, like I learned the most about Frank was from other people that knew him. He used to do business with. And I started realizing that everybody who used to know him and used to do business with him, he'd burn a bridge and like they were not cool anymore. And I was like, maybe I should keep him at arm's length.
I was going to say, holy shit, that's got real like John vibes from that 21 convention thing. Well, I don't know. It's the whole thing I find fascinating because like I've been in the military for 12 years and we never had that sort of camaraderie. We were sold that type of camaraderie at like basic training. Like, here's a great example of this. You guys have your club. If you're in the way, fuck off. There was this one girl that sailed with the guys that just outranked me. They did a deployment together, and they would tell me stories about, the first girl we had in the department, they just treat her like one of the boys, mission focus. They were in Guam, and she got drunk, and girls sometimes they get drunk, and she just said, do you guys think I'm pretty? And they're like, of course you're pretty. That's fine. Let's drink. Have fun. Next day, she felt embarrassed about that, tried charging the entire department of guys with sexual harassment. And it got investigated, had a lot of consequences to it. Eventually, the thing got thrown out. The chief realized, okay, whatever, it's just drunken stupidness. So the guys learned their lesson, and then they just stopped hanging out with her. Like, imagine going in your gym, somebody pulls some shit, and you can't just kick them out. So you just eventually like, outside of the ring, I don't know you. Obviously, not good for training, right? But then she tried charging the department again for sexual harassment for ignoring her and not inviting her out to all these events. And that was causing like a real issue now. And it turns out it got to the so bad that like the metrics we used to compare the different departments to each other, fucking tanking our department. It got so bad that if it wasn't for the fact that she got a girlfriend on the East Coast and the chief just like shipped her over there, it's like, good, get her the fuck over to Halifax. Would have been fucked. But like, that's the military. And you'd think like this is life or death and shit. These are guys just fucking around. But like what you're describing is something I was promised, but I've never actually seen. And that's why I'm like super interested in this. Even shitting on Ken Shamrock, I'm more than happy to do that all day too. But like, so I asked, like, do you know how rare this is? Like, I don't know. Somebody in the chat, let us know here. What do you think on this?
I think it is. And I don't know if it's unique to our MMA gym or in general. I don't know if there's a lot of other MMA gyms that are like that, because I've always been kind of centrally focused.
Well, I've heard good thing about any Gracie gym. I've never heard anything other than what you said from theirs. But I don't know all of them.
I haven't heard any. Yeah, I haven't heard any fallouts or any issues with that. Yeah, I was in Vegas for a little bit. My coach One Kick. I was at One Kick's gym, and he's primarily a Muay Thai gym, and they have women fighters everywhere. And there wasn't the 2 years I was there was no issues with anything.
I guess good teachers or good instructors, good leaders kind of make the difference too.
Yes, that's what I was going to say is like Nick, like he has just set the frame and he's not going to put up with shit. He's just not. Like this is my business, this is my life. Get your shit out of here. Like he has no problem kicking you out or whatever. You're either on his program or you're not, and that's really I think where a lot of the success comes from is, you know. It wasn't so much Javier, but like the fighters, like we were busting our ass. Like I didn't want to get a regular fucking job. I was like, I'm not gonna get stuck doing a 9 to 5 because you can't fucking handle your shit or whatever. Like get to work or leave.
Dude, that's fucking awesome. Oh, there's one example that I've seen that matches it. Airborne. Very little drama. I can see that too. So far in Canada, our Airborne, the only drama they had was in Rwanda, where they tortured some kids. But other than that, it was fucking. But I guess as long as you're part of the club, that's all that matters, right?
But no, I think when people are extremely invested in excellence, there's very little room for fuckery.
Yeah, well, and here's my question for you. I don't know if you've got this example. I'm pretty sure you bring a lot of this to when like you're doing your training. Like now you're training guys. I know for a fact you bring a lot of this stuff to it. I've seen you talk about what you do. I've seen the guys talking about it. But imagine being that guy like you. I don't want the 9 to 5. I'm driven. I want to get this done. Now picture a position of like leadership where the guy is like buckling to this kind of drama. He likes the idea of girls being there to be the hot shot in charge.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that a lot of guys are kind of in that position where they would love to have like the John Fitch gym experience. But unfortunately, they're put into like the Simpland experience where the guy's like, no, the pink wrist wrap's got a point there, guys. Maybe you need to slow it down. And that's where the terror from like Me Too and shit comes from. I don't know. It's just sad. Mm-hmm. I like hearing your stories because it's like a thing that I've always wanted to see, but I don't really see other than the place I've built it myself.
It's coddling. It's like, this is how we do it. This is what we do. If you want to come and join us and be a part of it, okay, do it this way or get the fuck out. And a lot of people do not have that ability to draw those boundaries. And that's really what this is. It's a matter of boundaries. Like if you're going to let a girl in just because you want to be progressive and let a girl in, and then you start changing the way you do everything to make her more comfortable, like that's how you fail. Okay, because if it was another guy, if it was a man who came in with the same bullshit, like he's going to drag you down.
Yeah.
But like for some reason, because she has a vagina, like it's okay for her to disrupt things.
Funny you bring that up too. I'm going to put another one on here. Rolo made me promise to put this up and have us talk about this one. If you guys don't know, he's off in.
Is Jack Napier? What a small panel. Is he talking about guns? Is he Start a
Hey,
fight.
I'm all for it, dude. Honestly, I love Rule Zero. I love having 6 guys here talking about shit. But maybe it's just me. But when it's like 2 guys or 3 guys, I like how you can actually get into shit and talk more
Mhm.
personal experience and less branding. So I fucking love this shit and whatever. And Jack's just mad because I didn't invite him. But anyways, here's the thing. So Rolo's like, you guys got to talk about this one. He has an article. Oh wait, there.
He
Where's the?
always has an article.
I know. Male space. I don't know if you. I don't know how well read you are in this stuff. I know you've been busy doing your own thing. And this is the one where he talks about male space is infiltrated by women, redefined feminine restructuring. It's kind of what you were talking about, where guys get thirsty and then a girl joins and then they kind of accommodate it to make her comfortable. And then she basically ruins it because she wants to make it all about her as opposed to the whatever.
A big part of this is guys who don't have women in their lives or don't know anything about women or don't know how to talk to women. I think that was a good
There
point
it is.
too with AKA is our top guys who are running shit. We all had our women under control. We all had, we already had chicks. We already had that stuff kind of settled and handled. So like, oh, a pretty girl showed up to train. Nobody cared.
But you see what I mean? Like my book. I had that. It's my final chapter. Thirst is the worst. I did it like a Dr. Seuss kind of piece.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can have a business partner. Rich has this great story of his guy he was in business with for like 14 years. But then the guy got the hots for a chick, basically fucked over everything, had to take him to court. It was like he could literally put the price on how much male thirst can cost you. And for him, I think it was like $500,000, which is a crazy expensive price for like average pussy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I had the same, like the example there, it cost 6 guys' careers. They all left the military within 5 years because of that, by the way. Military is kind of like MMA that way, where one setback can derail a 20-year career, even if it's not for anything. Like just the investigations is usually enough for it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what he's talking about here. And then the girls, it's not so much. And I guess you wouldn't have an example of this because you're actually in a pretty good space. But it's not that the girl wants to be part of the MMA gym because she wants to beat, and I know it's an older reference, she wants to beat Sarah Kaufman. She wants to be number 1. Mm-hmm. It's that she just wants to be the first woman at John Fitch's gym. And the problem is that's not a goal. Like she's treating the goal as the entrance exam. And I know for a fact at the office, a lot of guys are having this issue where like I'm the first director of Apple or, the first whatever of Google. Kind of freaks me out too. Because then once they're there, they don't know how to do it.
Rather than I really want to do this. I really like doing this and I want to be best at it.
Yeah.
Regardless of gender or whatever. You're just doing it because that's what you're passionate about. And like, I think because we've set such a strong standard at AKA, like the girls that we do have come through that train with us, they have the same mindset. We don't have a ton of girls that train with us.
But you actually filter for ones that want to train.
Yeah, well, because it's not even that we filter. It's just that we don't put up with shit. It's like either do this way or like we don't have to ask anybody to leave. They usually take themselves out, right? They usually remove themselves because, they're not getting the reaction out of the group that they want.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because like the gym obviously wasn't hurting for money. I could picture the kind of gym that's like worried about making rent that month might be more willing to put up with it because like, yeah, we need every body we could, which I guess that means you should have been a better gym and more people would join, right? But I'm wondering how much of this is just if you can't cut it and you try to make a male space, it's kind of like doomed to fail because you're eventually going to take what you can get, and usually what it is a girl who just wants attention.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, taking what you can get. That can be a very, very, very bad thing for your life.
Dude,
Just
imagine
taking
that
what
being
you can
thirsty for pussy, but like as a business sense, and you just screw up businesses in the same way that like the same guys screw up their relationships.
get.
I don't know why that makes me laugh.
It's just, yeah. I don't know, man. It's weak frames. A lot of it is just weak frames.
Yeah. But I mean, sex is one of those things, right? It's not a big deal unless you're not having it. Like, I don't know. I remember in my pickup days when I was first learning it, I would have like slumps. I think my biggest one was like a 6-month slump of nothing. And yeah, not gonna lie, that's where my bipolar chick story came from. Like I got thirsty on that one.
Yeah, no, man. Slumps are real bad. I had a friend who was in a slump and then met a girl who was younger, and so he was thinking, oh, maybe this is the one I might be able to have kids with. And like once he let that kind of slip, she's like, I got that motherfucker. And then she just was, awful.
I guess that's girls act as shitty as you let them. Oh yeah, fuck, I never did send you. This was a great article. This guy, girls act as shitty as you let them. And then it was like in his marriage, he realized once the worse he treated his wife, the better she treated him. And then he kind of had that realization that, well, if everybody's happy but me about this, maybe I'm not treating anybody bad. And that's what I was thinking, because you were telling the story about you guys at the gym. And it's like you guys weren't treating each other well, it sounded like. You were treating each other like you were driven. Like, if you're not here to train, fuck off. And that's not very nice.
It's the optics of what you look at of treated well. Like, if I go and I spar with somebody and I don't punch him as hard as I can in the face, I'm not treating him well.
Yeah.
Right? It's counterintuitive, but like if I'm sparring this guy, I'm sparring Josh Koscheck, he's getting ready to fight GSP. If I'm not trying to beat the shit out of him, I'm doing him wrong.
Oh yeah, GSP will beat the shit out of him later on if he's not ready for it.
I'm setting him up to fail worse. I'm not preparing him. I'm being the dick by taking it easy.
That's what I was gonna say. Imagine like the selfishness behind that, because you don't want to hurt his feelings. You're willing to let him fail by not like teaching him to be the best.
Yeah.
And that's what guys think right now. This is why I love these conversations with you, man, because like talking with other guys, I did a podcast with like some dude who just smokes weed and doesn't give a fuck, but he would have been blown away by this conversation. You'd have been speaking to him like he'd look at you like he had 3 fucking heads. Like, I just don't get this gender thing. I remember he gave me that line. I just looked at him. I'm like, oh my God.
It's gender thing.
Yeah. I just don't
Biology.
care.
What is it?
Yeah. You would like him because he was toking while on stream, though, and he had to stop it for monetization. So at least you guys could have something in common. I guess I shouldn't even complain.
I've been dry for a week. I'm going to go 3 weeks and then retest my test levels. I'm doing a break from, well, I mean, I still have coffee, but like I'm taking a break from alcohol and weed just to see if that impacts my test levels.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because I don't know. Like, I know booze, how it affects your test levels, your training, that. I have tons of experience on that. I have no idea what weed does to any of that. And so far, the only experience I've got is like a Joe Rogan podcast or Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah. I've read a couple things on it, because like my ex went through she did a body competition thing, a bikini competition.
Yeah.
And her coach was like really anti-weed and it's bad for muscle and bad whatever. So I did research just to make sure that he knew what he was talking about. But like there's conflicting studies. So like one is like your testosterone levels do drop when you smoke, but that was tested on people who aren't chronic users. So the other study I saw was the chronic users, like after you're used to using every day, you level off and your levels are fine. But like if you're not a habitual or chronic user, it spikes. So you don't smoke for a while, you smoke and then you'll get a drop. So like that was kind of what I had seen on it, but I haven't seen any conclusive evidence.
Well, I mean, it sounds like pretty soon you're going to be the conclusive evidence, right?
Well, I mean, bro science is about as much as I trust bro science as much as I trust just about any other science.
Well, the only thing I'll give as a plus for bro science is that it's replicated. Like guys will try it, and if it works,
try it, and certain guys will work it. But it's not like everything nowadays is funded by somebody. And if it's funded by somebody, they have special interest in the outcome.
Do you really want to turn this into an anti-science thing? Because I will fucking go off. Speaking of that fucking podcast, that was the other thing. These people talking about citing sources for any opinion you had on anything. And I was like, do you guys not understand how bad science is right now? Well, like the replication crisis. Like, did you know most of that medical science, like over half of it, they can't replicate it at all.
Yep. Well, there's the other part of it is it's a bitch move to ask for sources because you've got a fucking supercomputer you hold in your goddamn hand. You can ask anything and find it in 2 seconds. So if you're asking for sources, you're just a dick. You're just a dick. You're a lazy dick. It's like I hear people say shit all the time. I look it up. I'm like, nah, this guy's fucking wrong. It's not hard. It's really not.
I'm just laughing at you sitting here on some like Bill Maher panel talking about something, and they're like, "What's the source you have from that?" You pull out your phone, it's like, "Here, it's called Google."
Asshole,
drop it at their feet.
DuckDuckGo, whatever, man.
Hey, fuck, whatever. If it works,
it's not 1950. Like you can easily look shit up and verify for yourself, real time.
Well, that's my worry for a lot of guys. Like just for the back to the male space thing, right? Like you mentioned the benefit of the space. You join the space. Guys are driven. Zero distractions. Fucking gets you up to the top echelons of your field, right? Like, it's very hard to argue that John Fitch wasn't like, how does Rich say it? Would you trade places with that guy? Wasn't a lot of MMA fighters out there who would say, no, I wouldn't trade places with John Fitch. I would argue probably anybody would. It's like I think, when you first got to number 2, well, fuck, my dates are wrong here. I was trying to think who was number 1. And for some reason, I got Forrest Griffin on the brain right now, and I know that's not it.
I was started to be considered number 2 fairly recently after like GSP beat Hughes.
Right. So around that time there. But you see what I mean? Like, the only person who didn't want to be John Fitch was GSP.
Yeah.
So out of 8 billion people, that's pretty fucking good odds. And I would argue, in no small part, obviously talent and skill and practice, but just being in an environment where people get all the shit out of your way. Mm-hmm. That's my experience. We had an all-guy Shaq, same thing.
I'm not to my own horn, but
please do. Somebody has to.
A lot of the reason because those things were happening because I was the one that set the frame. I learned early on in high school that sometimes the coaches just didn't have what it took to get you to the next level. Like the coaches didn't have the ability to get the team motivated, to get the team to step up and level up and play at a higher level. They just couldn't. So like, it's either like, okay, well, I just do my best and let the rest of the team suck. And it really dims my light because in like team sports and stuff, if everybody's not fucking putting in work, then like I'm not going to get noticed, I'm not going to be successful. So I started taking it on myself to start coaching my friends and teammates. I had summer workouts at my house, football, right? I'm calling the guys up. We're running pass routes. We're doing defensive stuff. Then we go and swim in my pond for an hour afterwards. Like I was doing that stuff. I was getting people to show up. I was rounding up guys to come in at 6 a.m. before school started to run and do cardio during wrestling season. Right. I was forcing guys to go into the weight room and like busting their ass. I was the guy who was in school. Like, where were you today? What the hell were you doing? Well, so-and-so
holy shit, accountability. What's that?
So-and-so didn't have a partner because you were being a lazy shit. I had gotten your face over it. I was the guy.
Dude.
Because I realized if I didn't do it, like nobody else really was. And then I guarantee you that people that we were more successful in high school wrestling. We were more successful in our football team because of the way I approached it. I guarantee that.
Dude, the fucking over your buddy thing, that's so real. Like, it's not the same thing, but we had duty watches on ship. When you're at a foreign port, you're enjoying the nightlife, you're going out getting drunk. Doesn't matter how drunk you were, but you had to be on ship for 7:30 if you had a duty watch. Mm-hmm. And I swear to God, some of the stories that guys would have just about what it takes to get from whatever random house that they passed out on, whatever chick's house they were, to get to the ship before that time is amazing. But it's just like you said, and that was crazy that you mentioned it. It wasn't that, I'm going to get charged if I don't make it, or I'm going to be in trouble, or the police are going to come pick me up. It was always because, like, the guy who I have to relieve can't leave work and go and enjoy, like, Dubai or whatever until I get there. It was literally for that same reason. Only thing I can't figure out, though, like, how does it though? Like, for us, the coach was just the opposite. They didn't really care. They were just doing a job. But, like, how did you know your coach wasn't in the good, like, he wasn't properly placed
and they weren't
lead?
bad. My coaches were good. They were
no,
good,
just not
like,
good enough.
They're busy. They had other things to do. They had lives also, wives, kids, jobs, But me, it was like all I had. Like, that's all I wanted was like to win. I was just super competitive. And I realized that in order for me to win at the level I wanted to win at, I needed to make sure everybody else was doing their shit. I mean, to make sure everybody else was in shape, everybody else was working.
So is that really the big difference then? Just whoever's at the top has to be the one who's most committed out of everybody, you figure?
You need strong leadership, and I think leading by example is probably the most powerful way to lead, because it wasn't like I was calling people up and telling them to do shit and not being there. I was like, come on, I'm going to be at the gym at this time. Let's go. And like, I didn't even ask a lot of times. It's like, I'm showing up to do these things, and then trickle down effect. People hear I'm showing up at 6 o'clock in the morning to run. I'm doing 20 minutes of cardio every morning. We had a gym that had like 2 levels. So you had to like run up the stairs and then run across, then run down the stairs. So we would do a 20-minute sprint. You'd run it as fast as you can. Like when I first started, it was just me. And I made friends with the janitor. So like I would knock on the door and the janitor would let me
Getting
into
real Rudy vibes from you, man.
the janitor would let me into the school, and from there, like I would start doing it. And then, after like a week, like a couple of my other guys who were hard workers heard about it. It's like, hey, you're doing cardio in the morning? And I'm like, yeah, like 6 o'clock, don't miss it. And they would show up. And then after a while, we had like 10, 15 guys showing up. And then like, dude, we fucking won sectionals, regionals. Like we did good, man. Our wrestling team did really well.
And none of those guys would have been there if you weren't fucking saying, get in there and stop being a pussy at 6 a.m.
And doing it myself. I didn't have to scream and yell about it. I just did it. And then guys see it and they're like, oh, wow, like this guy's doing this. I can do that. I can get up an extra hour earlier. I can show up. Let's do that. And they would. And
fucking Marty.
We were all way better for it.
It is. I just like Marty here. He made the janitor work out hardcore.
I didn't make He just let me in. He just let me in.
Anyways, hey, Paul, we're talking right now about male spaces and that. And John on a really good tangent about his coach was good, but not committed enough to get them to the next level. So he kind of just stepped up and became the coach to the guys. And for other guys that just wouldn't have performed at a peak performance, just him being there and setting the example was sometimes enough.
Yeah. That's cool.
Are you ready to run your mouth yet, or do you want some more preamble?
I don't know. I'm here just to invade this male space right now. That's that.
Somebody's calling Paul Brock Lesnar.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, Brock Lesnar. That was the fucking guy I was trying to think of. God damn it.
Dude, I will say, man, anytime we want to transition into military talk about females invading male space in places like infantry, special forces, and, some of these communities, it used to be strictly guys. We can transition to that because that's really interesting. It's just interesting to watch the entire social dynamic change or get ruined as soon as a chick gets dropped into it. And it's real challenge. What I mean?
That's what I notice is when things start coddling to them. It's like you have this space, you have this set space, it's functioning, it works well, and then you introduce somebody from the outside, and they're like, I'm uncomfortable. Do we really have to do that many push-ups? It's kind of hot. Can we turn the air up?
Well, it's not even like that. Like what happened at our end, what would happen is they wouldn't meet standards. So they were put up to standards that they could not meet. And because they're just not genetically, capable of meeting that, I'm not trying to maybe somebody was, but on a large scale, most of the numbers, they're not capable of meeting it. So then what ends up happening is they start adjusting the standards to get women to be able to meet it, or start making an example out of certain women. And it's really a shame, for everybody, because example, like the first chicks they pushed through Ranger School, I don't take anything away from the girls. Because they're just trying to accomplish something, and in some cases killing themselves, getting recycled over and over again, trying to get through this process, right? And okay, they made it, they got the tab, and it's like, it's sad because they were given so many more opportunities, so much more pre-training, so much more prep, and eventually made to push through that course, whereas your average E4 coming out of regiment or something, he's not going to have those opportunities. He'll be given one, pre-ranger, train up, and he'll go to the school. And if that dude fails, he gets kicked out of regiment. He goes somewhere else. If he fails a couple times or whatever, doesn't make it, you can recycle a few times. But as an officer going through that school, you can't. You only get a certain amount of chances you get kicked out, right? Or they don't get, the amount of opportunities and the deficit that E4 guy, male has to overcome.
Oh yeah, America's big on that move up or move out shit, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Right. And so, what that dude, the average soldier guy, has to overcome to make it through that school is, it was all the standards were fixed, for the female. And I hate to say that because I know these chicks work their asses off, and they were being made an example of by the Department of Defense, the woke members of the DoD who wanted to try to prove that boys and girls are the same, or that girls could do this. You know what I mean? And it's not to say that, there aren't girls out there who might be able to, but you're not gonna
Ranger
get the
school,
numbers.
most people fail, so it's not like not like guys are swimming through it.
No,
everybody fails.
Most dudes are failing, right? So I mean, exactly. So I mean, you're gonna have like one in a million chicks who can make it through that without having the standards adjusted. But it's saying this is the same with some of the Marine infantry stuff they were trying. I mean, women left and right not making it through, then adjust the standards so the women could make it. But what ends up happening is the standard lowers for everybody. The tab now doesn't mean, to me, the tab doesn't mean as much. Do you know what I mean? It now becomes like, oh, well, it means something to this guy because his version of the school was hard, but this guy, who knows what happened with his standards. And even this guy here who didn't make it, maybe he had instructor roulette and had instructor, not like him, and he didn't make it. Like, really, that happens.
Oh, and so I know it happens. Now it becomes, laughing.
Yeah, no, it's just now there's no more standards anymore, right? Now there's no more objective measure, and it's all a big joke. Sexist.
Yeah. Well, you guys know the beep test, right? Shuttle run. I'm assuming you've done it. You have to run back and forth on like a 10-meter gym thing, and then they always have to beep, and you have to make the line before the beep.
Yeah, I know what you're. I know what you're referring to.
I'm sure that's a different
part
name.
of our test,
but that was part of our like PT exam for the Navy. And guys, we had to get an 8 to pass. Which by 8, you're doing a pretty good clip where you're a nice hefty jog, and you have to make it within like X amount of seconds. The girls had to do like a 4.
Right.
Now the instructor, just to help you set pace, like your PT coach or whatever, will walk with you for 3, and then he lets you off at 3. And the girls only had to make 4. And I swear to God, from a medical standpoint, the amount of like diabetes and like, general problems when you're out of shape, like back problems and knee problems, shit like that, started going up. And we ended up having to recruit more doctors just because of that. And then you were talking about how it sucks that there's no more pride and honor in it. And people could be just, that's fucking feelings. And I'm like, well, there's actually a real cost attached to it. Yeah. Because each doctor was $100,000 plus most of the time. The only way a doctor would ever join the military is if the military paid for his schooling. Another $100,000 right there. So for every time you wanted to put a woman through, there was a chances are some percentage of a doctor's time had to be taken from it. And it's weird because it's nobody's fault. It's just a system that's set up for failure, and that's the part that kind of gets me.
And if we're gonna blame someone, I blame weak ass males for this whole thing. Because
John blamed earlier.
Yeah, I blame weak ass males, dude. Like, seriously, because we don't have to let them into these spaces. What? We don't have to.
Well, I mean, it's not even about not letting them into the spaces. Just don't change your standard.
Well, there you go.
We were talking about our gym. We're talking about AKA. We have plenty of girls who've come through and trained with us.
Yeah.
Like, we're not taking it easy on you. Right. You don't get to skip hard sparring. You don't get to skip the bike workout. You don't get to skip the rest of the training.
Right.
Like, get the fuck out. Like, we're not gonna cobble you.
I told you your shit was rare, John. I told you.
No, it's right. And you know what, dude? Like, I will say some of the best fighters I like watching are female fighters because they have to overcome a genetic deficit with skill sets training with guys. I don't know. That's my feeling. Like, some of these female fighters are pretty damn good on technical level, dude. I think they're really good because
Jermaine Randall May, she was a UFC champ.
Yeah.
And she trained with us, and she's scored at least 2 to 3 knockouts on guys.
Right.
Nice.
Head kicks. Head kicks.
Right.
Because women's power is in their hips. But she's got long legs, and she was able to sneak a couple of those question mark kicks over on some guys and floored a handful of guys. But like guys are sparring hard with her. Like, it's not like you get an easy pass. Like, she's got knocked down and had her ribs bruised and shit before.
Right. Yeah. So it makes, the ones that can do it makes them better, because you don't have a ton of women training in MMA. So they have to train with the guys who are going to be genetically more equipped with strength to body weight ratio, stuff like that. And so they have to overcome those gaps with skills. But if that doesn't work, though, if we are easier on them, you know what I mean? Doesn't work, though, if we change the standard.
He was a champ.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that got me thinking. I'm curious your guys' thoughts on this. if somebody took it easy on you and then you got into whatever you were trying to join, you would kind of feel cheated, like you weren't earning it, like that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know enough girls who've talked about this openly to know if they still get that same feeling or that's such a guy thing and the girls don't care.
Right.
I don't have examples from it because every girl I've ever seen who's gotten into a position where they only got there because they were being made an example of,
I
they
mean,
tended to just assume they earned it and like delude themselves into thinking
most
it. But
most women, I feel, live in a fantasy world. Anyways, like I've joked about this a long time ago before we really had this big split of fighting in the sexes like this. Maybe
Yeah.
10, 20 years ago, I was talking to my friends about how I had this theory of why men loved sci-fi and comic books,
right.
right? Because men are beat in the face with reality 24/7. If you're fat, everybody, hey, look, he's fat. If you're ugly, hey, you're ugly. Like, you don't get away from it. If you're dumb, people tell you you're dumb. Like,
This is true.
you cannot escape reality. So these
Right.
guys, in order to not face reality, they get involved into this fantasy world. So they get involved deep into this stuff. But the girls, they are not interested usually in it because their whole life is a fantasy.
No, baby, you're so smart. I love your personality.
You're
You're a manager.
You're
Cool.
so smart.
Come over. We'll talk about it. Yeah, exactly.
You can do anything.
I'm not
a man can do.
that's a study. I saw that. That's a study that was done. Is like the preference or whatever that women are given. Like a lot, they're always overscored of their abilities.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen similar.
Yeah.
There was one on job hiring where they took girls,
Yes.
they gave them boy names on resumes, and they gave them voice changers for their interviews, and they ended up doing worse than if they would otherwise.
Oh,
Which let them
100%.
know that recruiters were like taking it easy on them.
And especially, I think it depends on like what jobs too. Like, interesting, like having built a real estate business as a male, and whatever. I'm not like, oh, I have this deficit because I'm a male in the space, like, But girls just show up and look hot, and guys are like, oh yeah, I'll hire her to sell my house. Like it's like the average real estate agent is just like a divorced single mom who looks hot in a photo, and it has no like actual skill. A lot of these women, they're not good at what they do. Now there are some women who are great at what they do, in real estate, but a lot of them are not, and they stay afloat and they get deals just because they look hot. You know what I mean? It's just okay, and that's what does that boil down to? Simps. You know what I mean?
Thirst is the worst.
Thirst is the worst. And that's the thing.
T-shirt.
Like,
You gotta make the T-shirt, Ryan.
All right. I had a big merch argument already. I don't know. I would hate to have some guy walk up to a date's, hi, what's this thirst is the worst shit mean in a picture of some dude with a Hawaiian shirt on? Don't ask. I would hate to cost a guy.
you got
Cobra
enough
Commander
memes in
shield
one
on. Get
liner
your
to
Cobra
have a
Commander
complete
shield.
clothing line, though.
Oh,
so.
yeah. Oh, yeah, Paul, I never showed you that, did I?
The Cobra Commander shield.
Cobra
Yeah.
Commander shield.
I saw it on the photo on Twitter.
Dude,
Oh
I
yeah.
can't wait for Halloween. Like, they sold this as some COVID thing, and I'm like, if they make me wear a mask or whatever at the airport, I want to
Do
see
it.
if I can get through security with this.
That would
chrome
be
face
awesome.
mask. My girl's like, you absolutely will not. I'm like, oh, it'll be fine. She's like, well, you're not sitting with me. I'm like, probably not.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I'll day game at the airport while you sit in your
It was
seat
like
over
Rich's
there.
thing about, I go to the bank now wearing a mask. They used to shoot you for doing that shit. Now they require it.
I know.
Oh, shit. I can't believe I missed him for this long. Cappy, how's it going, brother? How's
What
the
the
place?
hell?
You didn't miss me too. Had I known
Dad, it's my dad. Hi, Dad.
had I known Paul was here, I wouldn't have logged in. I mean, oh, screw that Paul guy.
God, he hates his own children.
Oh, it'll be good. We talked about shit he was actually interested in. He lit right up, but he's become interesting as fuck. You'll love it.
Oh man.
No, I just want to stop and say hi real quick because I was like, oh yeah, you guys are live, and I'm in the middle of soundboarding. See,
Soundboarding.
Oh,
yeah,
Look at
yeah.
that. I got a whole
Cool.
It's South Dakota, right? How's it going over there?
good and bad. I mean, like anything else.
For a
they're-
second, you were drop shipping sex toys.
No, no, it's going well. I installed the hood that goes over the exhaust hood over the oven, and then just setting up
Okay.
towel racks and dumb things, assembling furniture. The contractors out here are all busy building because everyone's moving to South Dakota because they hate Marxist countries and states, and so
They
like my
turn in-
fireplaces
they vote
doesn't work.
Marxist.
What's that?
Yeah.
Then they get there and they start voting like Marxists.
Yeah, I think I got 20 years here, but then the next step is to move on out. But it's stuff like this. It's not I'm going through boxes, tossing things that I haven't gone through. It's boring stuff. But no, come on out whenever you want. Just give me like maybe a month or two heads up, and then I got futons and very fine accommodations, futons and minion blankets.
What's the point of going out to the Dakotas if you can't just sleep on a rock in the woods, man? What kind of creature comforts are you talking about?
You can do that. I got rocks in my yard. You could go do that.
Dude, I love it out there, though. I haven't been out there in years, but out west, I think it's amazing. It's very underrated.
It's awesome. I did a motorcycle ride through Spearfish Canyon and Deadwood, and then just sat at home and watched the storm roll in. So it was really nice.
So I don't know how long we got you here, but the whole point of this was to talk about like the benefit of male spaces and how inviting women to male spaces can kind of destroy like the camaraderie that you get from it. You've been around longer than me. I'm curious on your thoughts on this.
Well, it's I hate to side with the women on this one, but you guys let it happen. Not you guys, but it's. Right. I mean, like
no, that's right.
I go to a cigar lounge and. We don't mind if girls come in, but girls don't really want to go there. And then there's like, motorcycle rallies. There are things that are, or you go work on a car in a shop. There are places just by the nature of the activity that will prevent or not necessarily exclude, but women don't want to go there. They don't want to. And then if you want to set up a men's club, go do it. The laws are not against it. What I think we're more complaining about are places that have more or less always been open to women, but women never went. Generally, you could talk about the workforce. Well, they want to come into the workforce. I don't really necessarily begrudge them for wanting to come into the workforce. Women want to go into the military. I'm sure, Ryan and Paul, you guys would have more professional opinions than I would. But I'm like, okay, as long as you can do the job, or maybe if you're,
that's what I'm at. Maintain the standards. It's when we drop the standards for them.
Yeah, right. And that was the point. That's the problem, though, is that so many people want to send a signal saying that we're open to women here, that they drop the standards to meet. And I think that's where the conflict is coming from.
Right. It's all about standards for me. It's not about what their parts are.
Right. But I'll tell you, and it's very simple. Two concepts. One is choice. And the other is the power of the word no. Have the balls to tell the woman no. There are other clubs out there, like you guys, I'm sure the Masons is all men. They have a women's auxiliary. Mm-hmm. Those other fraternal orders like the Eagles and whatnot, I think are the same thing. So you have that option to go to all male spaces, but in terms of co-ed spaces that were traditionally male and have a masculine nature to them. If a gal comes in, cool, she could be a tomboy, but don't bend over backwards, because then you've lost the original point and purpose of having a male space where it's like, oh, let's get women in, especially either because you're trying to virtue signal that you're not sexist or because you're trying to get laid. And like, oh, maybe you should. Like, I don't know if you guys ever played Dungeons and Dragons, largely a male phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
But then they'll lower those standards to let one girl come in, and it ruins it. Just ruins it. Because it's like, hey guys, are we playing? Or you all got to flirt with her with your witty knowledge of the rule book. What are we going to do?
The monster manual gets them all wet. Or what in the way they call it, the monster compendium. I think that was it. It's been a while. I used to be a DM back when I was like 13. I'm trying to recall.
I think I got my book actually around here somewhere.
I was a 12 or 13-year-old doing that stuff.
Yeah, I think everybody was just in between your Magic the Gathering phase and you're playing the guitar phase. Or in John's case, I just played football and banged broads. I don't know what you nerds are talking about.
No, I didn't get chicks until I was older. I was blue pilled in the. I got my my lessons on love from The Princess Bride. That was
that was
Andre the Giant taught me how to love too.
Yeah.
That was a good flick, man. That was a good flick.
Yeah. No, yeah, I would say that would get you a lot.
Ooh, somebody's mic just went huge static. Oh wait, there we go. It's better now. Yeah, I agree, Aaron. Because you were economics. Maybe that's mine. The economics sector. You were in corporate. I don't know how long ago that was. I remember your story. I don't remember the dates.
Coming up on 10 years.
10 years ago.
Yep. Last time I had a boss. Yep.
Like, did you have any examples of that? Of like, obviously economics is not a female space. where they came into your space? Was it like equal opportunity and standards across the board, or did they do the signaling and did that affect it?
No, I mean, starting in college, they started in with this diversity and whoa, who's got that? That's like
I don't
annoying
know.
as sin. Everyone
Here,
mute.
keep talking. I'll test it out. It's not Apex. Maybe it's. Oh, it's John's. Okay. All right, John. Yeah, there's some static coming
Staticky
from
beard.
it. Here, I'll just mute you when you talk. Just unmute it. Whatever.
Yeah. No, that started back in the mid to late '90s, and you know, just being ethical or principled. Like, well, yeah, and there were just as many girls in college majoring in those things. I was in business school, but when it came to finance and economics, yeah, it skews towards men, but there were certainly female economists. I mean, you know, Janet Yellen is old as shit, so she was in, so and it wasn't, by the time I got there, banking was not exclusively a male space.
Right.
There were certainly women. I had female bosses too. So I never, I guess I was too young to see it where it was the good old days. Do you guys have, it was an article about, I think it was Delta Airline from 1955 to 1970. They had all male flights. You could not be a woman. You could not fly on these flights.
What?
And it was oh, dude, I'll look it up. It was like the heyday of the airlines. And it was from Chicago, LA, and New York. It was a triangle. You could go any direction. But women were not allowed. They served steak. They had cigars on the plane. You could play poker. I mean, this was the end.
I heard about this. Yeah.
It just sounds like heaven. Just sounds like heaven. And they kind of kept it on the down low from the wives until it got kind of exposed because Delta, I think it's Delta, don't quote me, would send out surveys saying, oh, how do you like this? Or, you know, and then the wives would open up and say, what flight is this? You didn't take this flight. Like, yeah, that must be something wrong in the man. But it wasn't it wasn't like in the olden days where it was 1955 in Madison Avenue in New York. Women long before I entered the finance banking world were working in finance and banking.
Well, that's good then. It sounds like it's largely been insulated. I guess that's why, because people actually give a shit about money, so nobody was fucking around with it.
Yeah, well, and I think the main complaint people have about women entering men's spaces is for social things. Work, I don't think anyone here is like, oh, we don't want women in engineering or linemen. It'd be like, yeah, I'd like you guys to carry your weight for once and get out of sociology and being elementary school teachers. That'd be grand for a change if you pulled your own weight for once. But I think it's the social stuff where, God, you even got to ask your wife's permission. I'm going out with the guys. I could tell it because I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
Whereas like, hey, I'm going to go on a hunting retreat for a week with the buddies and there ain't no women allowed, or it's guys night and F off. But I don't think any guy here has a problem with that because we tell women we're doing it, see you bye. And that's it. I think this is largely a phenomenon for blue pill folk.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it's really important that men have their own social circles, their own spaces, just from the aspect of leadership in your relationships, especially if you're in a relationship, particularly because you can't show really weakness to your woman in a relationship, that you will always pay for that. I mean, no matter what. And that's just the reality of it. So guys, guys are used to being raised by women, right? Mom or female caretakers when you're growing up, and they get used to like, okay, who wipes their skin knee, tells them they're brave, you know what I mean? Tells them everything's gonna be okay, puts a star on their forehead, some mom or chick when you're growing up, and then they grow up and then they get married or they find a girlfriend that they really like, and they transfer all of those needs onto that chick. They want their girlfriend or wife to tell them they're brave and to tell them that they're a big boy and, to wipe their nose. And that's a real problem because she's not wanting that when she comes to a relationship. She wants a dominant guy that's going to lead the relationship and tell her no and tell her, make decisions. And if you show weakness without at least the caveat of, I got this handled, I got it under control, you're going to pay for it. She's going to drift away emotionally, mentally, sexually, all that stuff. She will see any deficit you bring to that relationship as a strength now that she has to bring. And she doesn't want to have to do that. And so it's going to cause that attraction and that frame to be outside of yours. She'll start developing her own frame and stuff like that when you show those weaknesses. So we have to have spaces where we can go to that we can get made fun of for our weaknesses. So we fix them, or, work with each other and, advise each other, all that kind of stuff, right? Where we can be weak to our guy friends and have our guy friends support us or tell us we're pussies, and then we laugh at it, and then we go back into the world, versus bringing that home. Because if you bring it home, you're
Probably
going
not going to work.
It's not going to work. You're going to lose frame.
Speaking of not bringing it home, Mr. Moscow himself, Troy, how you doing over there? Your internet, by the way, way better than London in Russia.
Well, yeah, probably.
Internet.
You say that, but I've just been on a stream with Mr. Wheat Waffles talking about the black pill, the wonders of black pill and facial shapes and all.
Dude, I know 5 guys have asked me to bust your balls on that already.
Well, man,
it's interesting, actually. It's kind of
Well, I just wanted to just make sure I ticked all those boxes, and obviously I did, so it's fine. But I kept cutting out on that, so hopefully we'll fingers crossed. I think it was because the information was too sensitive that we were sharing. It's just like the authorities here, they don't want the truth to get out.
The truth about your nose angle and whether or not it's attractive.
The truth that if you're not a Chad, you're not going to get any action. But it's all good, man. I've been over here for a couple.
Was the exact thing I was worried about.
I wanted to ask him a little bit about that show. It's interesting.
Well, I do. I want to ask him about the Russia thing and the make male spaces. Sorry, Trey, we lost you there. Here's my question to you. You've been in like the pickup spaces for forever. And I was thinking of like when we were talking about male spaces and female invasion, I was thinking of RSD Sarah. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Did you have examples of that? Like even in just something like, I don't know, you guys didn't do layers. I think that was more of a mystery thing. But just having layers and then girls invading this stuff, and was it a positive effect or a negative effect?
Do you mean women coming into the dating coach arena?
Yeah.
Was that a problem? Well, I mean, to be honest, I think that it hasn't been a massive problem because I think guys have still... It's somewhat divided. There are female dating coaches. Well, that's not funny. There are female dating coaches, and
they ain't good.
They often get criticized by guys. Will often say, "Well, actually, you shouldn't listen to these women because their insight isn't going to be as good as a guy who's actually dated women and knows what he's talking about." But I don't think they invade the space particularly. I think they can coexist. I don't see it as being a major problem. I mean, obviously, a company like RSD, and also you've got Natural Lifestyles. They brought female, dating coaches in. They've made a choice to do that, but that's just a choice that they've made. So I don't think it's been a massive invasion of the space that's actually been problematic, really, for anybody.
Oh, so that sounds kind of like Clary's thing. 'Cause he was talking about that from economics, and that there was always girls there. They did their thing, but because the quality standard was always level, that you never had to like accept women for the sake of accepting women. So the ones that were there had just as much value there as anybody else. Yes,
that's the whole back to that again. Get standards. That's the thing. Like female dating coaches, we can argue around like their evolutionary brain size and why they're not going to be good coaches.
Oh, he already argued with Waffles.
or we could just kind of look at what the results are, and are their female dating coaches getting good results? I don't know the answer to that.
Well, I think the market is big enough, and this is why I was talking to Tusk about this actually before, and we were saying, all of these feuds and all this kind of stuff, and these like, exposés, and look at this guy and look at this girl that he's dating and stuff. It's all nonsense because in the end, it's like, do people buy into you or not? And I believe there's room for. The internet's a very big place, right? I think there's room for everybody. So I personally don't really. I've got nothing against female dating coaches. I personally kind of believe what's often said, which is that the best advice for me, I think, comes from a guy because the guy has been through the whole thing and knows it from the male side, and that's who I would trust most with dating advice. But equally, if there are women out there and they're dating coaches and guys believe that they're going to get good results working with those women, then look, it's a free market, right? Well, let them do that. That's absolutely up to them.
Do you guys want to hear like an awesome compliment that I've been seeing lately when it comes to like us, like all of us and rolling them? I don't know if you guys know this, but people's opinion of like guys who are red pilled in that or MGTOW or all that is a bunch of like He-Man woman hater club members. And I've been seeing a lot of like girls coming out of the woodwork who are doing research for like laughing at incels and shit going, these guys seem like normal people that I could have a drink with, and I actually would like them. One chick even suggested she would friend zone me, so I was like, aw.
That was nice of her.
But you know what I mean? And this is going to be me pitching to the audience why all 4 of you guys are fucking awesome.
Thanks,
it's
man.
that not unnecessarily cruel. Like, you'll be cruel if you need to be. Like John said, when you guys are training, if he's got up against GSP, he's going to punch you in the face if you let your guard down, because that's what you need to learn. But I just enjoy, because that was our entire goal coming out with this. There's a lot of bad actors out there doing the brand of me thing, and it's just nice to see guys who are, they'll call a spade a spade. It'll be mean if it's true, but not mean for the sake of being edgy. And I just wanted to say thank you guys for helping restore my faith in humanity on the internet. As much as that's worth.
You shouldn't have faith on the internet. I mean,
fake.
we're pretty elite here. I don't know if I.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
I wanted to ask you guys about a phenomenon I think is important is the fact that there are things that are like accepted male spaces right now, but they're completely feminized. So, for example, like when I was going through my divorce stuff, we went to counseling, and she kind of wanted me to see a counselor, so I found a men's group, an actual men's group with a counselor, and it was a bunch of women with penises sitting around. It was sitting around crying. I eventually left, and I didn't even say bye or whatever. I just left and never came back because it was the time when the Kavanaugh hearing stuff was going on.
Oh,
and two of the guys in the group, actually, we went around the thing. You have to supposed to talk about what you're going through or feeling or whatever. Got to one guy, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just upset. Me and my wife were just so like, upset and having a hard time right now, and praying a lot because of what happened with this Kavanaugh thing." And I was just like, "What the hell? You mean the guy who was like wrongfully accused?" I didn't say anything at the time, but like, because everybody, when he said it, everybody else was like shaking their head yes, like in agreement. I was like, what the fuck? And then I got to the head counselor, and he's like, yeah, me and my wife, we sent flowers to that poor woman. And I was just like, all right, I'm done with you guys. I'm out of here. But it's just a bunch of guys sitting around crying, doing absolutely nothing about working forward, moving forward. There's nothing masculine or positive about the experience.
Jeez.
And I was like,
Troy, you need to expand your shit into like marriage counseling too. I think you would crush that demographic. Blow their fucking mind.
Here's the thing: is like most women, by the time they get you to the marriage counselor, they're already out. They've already checked out.
Let me ask something. Then I gotta go. Did you guys touch on the topic? You guys know GQ, Gentleman's Quarterly?
Yes,
I haven't touched on it yet, but I know it.
So these were GQ, Gentleman's Quarterly. It was a men's magazine.
Yeah.
Playboy, it was a men's magazine. Sports Illustrated, Swimsuit, men's magazine. Those things have been completely co-opted to that. It is not. I mean, if there's any men, they're not straight.
ESPN.
Well, I don't know. I don't watch it, but I do distinctly remember like the sports swimsuit or the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. Obviously, Playboy, but then Gentleman's Quarterly, which is maybe not as well known in foreign countries, but that was the Gentleman's Magazine, pipes and a. And if you go read through it now, there's a perfect example of a traditional male space that was not only invaded by women, but completely destroyed to where it's. I mean, what Playboy had someone who was a transsexual, or
I remember that
one time, and then Sports Illustrated,
they put the fat chick on the swimsuit issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, okay, that's a dead branch of masculinity. It is no longer. But I think if there's any kind of victims or casualties to that where women have invaded male space, it's maybe brands that have been destroyed. But otherwise, in terms of socializing and all that, I think men just will hang out. And who reads Sports Illustrated? Who gets Playboy anymore? I mean, that's.
I was gonna say, one of you guys was showing me this. Mike Servey, I think is his name. Do you guys know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, Frank Servey or Mike?
Frank Servey, thank you. Doesn't he put out like a new like manosphere version of like Playboy magazine?
Maybe. If he does, I got to check that out because he wrote a book called Corporate Land. And Uncle Nick, if you guys have you ever read those books?
I have not yet. I keep seeing Terrence Pop's ads for him, but
Go read Uncle Nick and Corporate Land. It's great. Yeah, Frank Servy's awesome. Yeah.
fuck, I gotta find it. I'll see if I can find it. But he makes like a Playboy magazine 80s style. Hires the girls, writes the articles, everything.
His last name is Cervii. But yeah, if Servy's got a Playboy, hang on, Frank Servy.
Like, do you ever have any of this, like, accoutrement that you put along with this stuff, Troy? Because, I mean, it's more than just telling guys this is how you approach a girl and shit. There's kind of like a, I don't want to call it, like, a brand identity, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not just about doing attractive things, but it's being attractive as well. Do you know what I'm trying to say here?
Yes, I do, but...
Like, do you have to deal with a lot of that stuff, too? Like, a guy walks up, bad body language, like, he's got the image in his head of what he needs to do to be attractive is kind of messy. You kind of have to lead by example, I guess, lack of a better word.
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you one good place where you can look at approaches is some of the James Bond films, some of the old James Bond films.
Old ones, dude, for sure.
Yeah, with obviously Sean Connery, but also I would argue Roger Moore, actually, in some of them as well. He goes in, exactly. He goes in and he does some approaches, and they're brilliant. I saw one, I forget which movie it was, but he sees this girl at a party. He walks up with the glass of wine, stands beside her, and just starts talking to her, opens her, as it were. Great approach. He goes in with assuming familiarity, assuming attraction. A lot of the things that we teach, and it's fantastically seamless. So the old Bond movies, great for getting some, in terms of body language and all these kinds of things, it's great for getting some tips from.
Huh.
So I have a random question. Maybe it's not really fun. So you're doing this thing with these black pill dudes. They're talking about looks maxing or different thing. It's interesting, actually. I was doing a bunch of stuff getting ready to come out here, and I just caught it, and I was like, "Oh, what's Troy up to?" But
yeah.
What's their premise? Is it like we can't get girls because my nose isn't the right angle, or is it let's look max to increase our chances? Like, where are they at? Like, I don't understand. I don't know what everybody does on the internet.
Well, the reason I
have to ask.
I got him on. I got him on because he's done streams with a few people, and he's a bit more reasonable than some of these other guys. But their basic premise is that
he seemed all right when you guys were talking.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
He's all right, but their main premise is that the main determining factor in attraction is looks, and if you don't have looks, then you're screwed, and no game or any of that stuff is going to help.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree. I don't agree with that either. But I was interested because he does this. They do these very detailed breakdowns about the male face, what's meant to be the perfect male face and stuff. So I just thought it'd be interesting to get him to go through that stuff. So that's cool.
At least see what the baseline is meant to be. That doesn't mean that I don't agree with all of his conclusions from that, but I thought it was kind of interesting to get him on and talk about it. And funnily enough, the perfect male face looks a bit like Aaron Clary. So.
Right.
Well,
that makes sense.
Yes.
That's why I picked him to be my dad.
Yes.
Yeah.
On that note, I gotta let me split a couple things. Troy, I want to get you on the show once I get things stabilized and all that.
Definitely.
Ryan, can you and Carl come and sub for me, because that was a hell of a podcast you guys did.
Dude, they always do good podcasts.
Yeah, we'll talk offline and set up a schedule there. I know I have to work
good.
around Carl's work, but worst case scenario, I can carry it solo. If I can get him on there, I'll get him on.
Okay,
I'll
then
jump on there.
Finally, I put a link to a YouTube channel in our private chat. And this has nothing to do with the topic, but I have a bet with a buddy. I asked him to drive me to the airport. And he's like, I don't know, this is becoming a habit. And he's got a YouTube channel, and he says, well, if you pay me $30 cash or $40 on PayPal, I'll do it. And this is the Rapid City Airport. This is not going to O'Hare International. And I was kind of miffed a little bit. I'm like, you're charging a buddy to drive to the airport? Come on, man. I said, that's funny because that's exactly what I charge every time I promote your YouTube channel on my podcast.
Oh, so click the link for a free ride to the airport?
Yes. So he emails back. He says, look, if you could give me 1,000 subscribers, I'll drive you to the airport. So I put his channel now in that, if you could kindly put that in the public chat room or whatever and have everyone go subscribe, then I save myself $40 and I get to force him to drive me to the airport.
So should we all unsubscribe the day after you get...
No, some people were recommending that. I was like, yeah, there's a moral argument that you should, but he's a good guy. But It's the Black Brigade Debrief. So if you go on YouTube, it's the Black Brigade Debrief, but I also put that there in the link.
Am I going to be
Alright.
put on a watch list for?
No. He actually does interesting philosophy. He used to do politics. Now he does philosophy because he's given up on politics. So it is different material. But don't tune in. Just give me a free ride to the airport. That's what I want. That's really what it is. All right, thanks for having me
I'll
on,
put it in the
guys.
description too.
Cappy, I'll have my mom come pick you up.
Thank you. All right, I'll see you guys later.
All right. So when he's gone here, I'm going to do a change of pace. I'm just going to fuck around now. I love this. I think it's a great example. I'm going to put it up. Nope. That one. Oh, no, not that one. Oh, there it is. Tour de France. Have you guys heard about this?
Yes.
I know it's
I
going to play
saw
like shit.
the clip and laughed my ass off. I don't know what's going on there.
Okay, so
Some dude
obviously
put a
Tour de
sign up
France,
and
they're
just-
packed really tightly. These guys have been training their whole life to face this absolutely brutal race, like up at 6 a.m, training like John and that. And then what happens? Right there, this chick who has a sign up saying, "Hey grandma, hey grandpa," she joins the space. I want to get in on the Tour de France clout.
Oh, God.
Takes out half the Tour de France. And I think like half a dozen guys basically had their life's ambitions just crushed. Oh, wow. I didn't know they did this. They're giving it the just for laughs treat.
Oh my God.
So oddly enough, next to that Meghan Markle chick, I think she's the most hated woman in Europe right now.
I hope she gets charged something for that. Like,
I think the tour is trying to sue her, but it was hard to find because she just ran off.
isn't
once she
there
got
a
her
rule?
fame.
There's got to be rules about not doing that shit.
Well, I mean, it's called assault.
Right. Right.
But I mean, we're doing a bunch of highbrow stuff. We're talking about the problem with male spaces being invaded, the goodness of it. Sometimes it's not an issue if the standards are the same. I'm like, let's just fuck around and do some red meat. Look at that chick. How many careers did she ruin wearing a fucking duck suit, huh?
Throw on the Benny Hill.
The amount of sponsor money that was, used too for those guys and the equipment
God.
and the training, like hundreds of thousands of dollars lost because she had to like get attention.
Yeah. She can't even ride a bike.
No.
She had to run. I know, Troy. You didn't. I've already put up with enough fucking black-pilled red meat shit, guys. Just leave me out of it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
See,
whatever,
it
let's
just
have
goes
some
to
fun.
show there's no hope. Now, what's the nose angle?
Well, I mean,
that I need
because
to
of a
get?
lot of things, like I was saying,
What's the
like there's a lot of
correct
spaces
symmetry?
that have been invaded so bad that like I used to love football. I played football. It was like something I wanted to do professionally. But then it became very feminized.
Huh.
Like the whole broadcast was very feminized, and it was no longer fun for me to watch or be involved with as a consumer. 'Cause it used to be a space so I could get away and I didn't have to listen to women or hear women and listen to their complaints. But now, you go to the bar with your friends to watch the game, and there's a bunch of chicks there doing chick stuff.
Actually,
Yeah.
here's the thing. I'm curious. Is this just
wasn't
like an
fun
American
anymore.
problem? Like, Troy, I don't know if you're a big football fan. I have to say it with a U so he knows I'm talking about soccer. Like,
Yes.
is this an issue with soccer? Or football?
No,
or is this mostly an American thing?
not particularly, because women's soccer it exists. It's a thing. It's not as big a thing as male. So I mean, obviously we've got the Euros on at the moment, which is a massive thing. Women's soccer is a thing, but it doesn't get anything like the same attention. And there hasn't been. I haven't seen much sort of interplay between the two. I haven't seen many women saying, "Oh, we should be on the men's team" or anything like that. So I don't think. But I mean, certainly there's been pressure on like things like gentlemen's clubs in London. There are famous sort of old gentlemen's clubs that have been going for 100, 200 years or whatever. And it used to be just a place where these guys would sit around and smoke cigars and read the newspaper and all that stuff. And many of those have become unisex now. Due to pressure. I think there might be one or two that are still men only, but there's a lot of pressure on them to change. So
wait, it's literally a place where guys just go to smoke a cigar and read the paper quietly. And that's
yeah,
not-
I mean,
and
there's
that-
That's
Jesus.
what my cigar lounge is basically,
Yeah.
and bullshit around a little bit. I love it. I love my cigar lounge. You guys love it. You guys come to
Yeah.
Michigan.
There's
Yeah, it's awesome.
Huh.
Yeah, there's some cool places though that around Mayfair and stuff where some of them have been there for hundreds of years. They're really historic old style places, and you get MPs going there, members of Parliament going there, and politicians and things, and whatever. So, but as I say, those are becoming for two genders now, whereas before it was very much men only in
So-
most of them.
If you guys notice this also, but like it's not enough that the women have to be injected into all men's groups, but not just interjected, but like celebrated.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so like,
a lot
so
of
it's like
fluffing.
women's fighting. The women fighting the UFC, awesome. That's great. That's cool.
Right.
But like, I still like. There's only a few chicks that I actually like watching fight. It's not as entertaining for me, and it's not like a sexist thing. It's just not as entertaining for me as watching the guys fight. I don't get the same feeling from it, and if people hear this, I'll get railed for it. Like that Steven Smith, the guy from ESPN. He said so he doesn't like watching women fight. Well, like that doesn't mean they shouldn't fight or like they should be stopped.
It's just not what he wants.
It's just his preference of what he likes to watch. And it's like there's nothing wrong with somebody.
Yeah.
When like how many women who get mad at somebody saying, "Oh, I don't like watching women fight." How many of them actually watch men fight? Like, it's not. I don't know. You can't just allow them into the space. You have to celebrate it and put it in the front.
Well, so I'm wondering too about these gentlemen clubs in Britain. Then is it? Do the girls like, I want to smoke a cigar with an MP, or is it just I don't like that these guys have this?
Well, it's just it gets talked about in the media and so on. Oh, this is sexist because these spaces still exist and it shouldn't be allowed to exist anymore. And then slowly there's pressure on them, and usually they kind of
think about it like this, though, right? So right now we have a general narrative that's being promoted from woke circles to include academia, the APA, stuff like that, in Hollywood, that masculinity is generally bad, right? So if masculinity is a bad thing, is harmful, then male spaces must be harmful. Places where men can express their masculinity or have male, friendships and stuff like that, that must be bad. They must be, concocting a plan to, take over the women or damage something or hurt somebody, and that's if you believe in that as a general narrative, it only makes sense that spaces like that are going to be invaded or ostracized or, brought out and made an example of or whatever. And it's very harmful though too. And I want to talk a little bit what you guys think about like Hollywood actually in movies and how harmful that's been, in my opinion, to both women as well as masculinity. And it's this quiet, I'm just transitioning here, but it's this like quiet way of presenting men not as men and kind of slamming on the masculine narrative and propping up women, but not in a positive way either. Really like in a way where there's no hero story. There's no earning, you know what I mean? Their position and what things that they are able to achieve. They just show up.
I think that one's the tail wagging the dog. I don't think Hollywood's driving it. I think they're following a trend that makes
they're following what. Yep, no, I agree with you 100%. And so, but it's an unwillingness to try something different because you'll have a very vocal minority that will fight against that, say this is a misogynistic movie, this is misogynistic, this, that, and the other, and then they lose market share, they lose money that way. I think it's a fear for that has caused them to not make movies that would present masculinity in a different light, more masculine, or would show women and some female nature stuff that they do that's, in a more realistic light. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I think we missed that.
Yeah, I know. The Hulk needs to be more realistic. Now, actually, here's my question. Troy, you've never taken on female coaches. Like, you're not, not female clients, right? You're teaching guys the approaching.
I'm teaching guys. I've never marketed towards women, and that's largely because I'm not sure. I don't really think that I have very much to teach them, really. I mean, because what are you going to say?
And are women generally mad that you're teaching this to guys? Why aren't you teaching women or any of that shit? Like, I'm trying to pretend you were Hollywood, and how do you deal with this pressure? And you're saying generally it doesn't exist, right?
It doesn't. The pressure doesn't exist because I think for them the whole thing would just be verboten anyway. They'd just be like, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing it." I haven't had any women specifically coming at me and saying, "Well, why aren't you teaching women as well? That's unfair." I think they'd rather just cancel me altogether.
They would cancel you altogether.
Yeah,
actually.
But the vast majority, but as you probably know, I mean, the vast majority of criticism I get and people like me get is not from women; it's from other dudes.
It's from dudes that need you the most usually.
Yeah, it's not women at all. It's black pill guys or it's trans. or you know,
Yep.
or whatever, or currently, me and Tusk got called a couple of nutless European PUAs yesterday after somebody did a video objecting to what we were talking about with Rollo. So you know, but it tends to all come from guys. It doesn't come from women at all.
Yeah.
Well, that's my
practice
point on
suits
this.
again.
What I'm thinking when you're saying why won't Hollywood do better?
Mhm.
Well,
I
because
know
My
why.
example for the solution is like John coaching the guys training, Troy
Yep.
coaching them on the seduction and that. They're fine. And
Yeah,
they're
but-
small. That's not Hollywood, but fuck,
Yeah.
Troy cares. Hollywood doesn't pay his bills. Fucking
Right.
dudes who
We are-
succeed
we're-
pay your bills.
we're sort of small enough that we're kind of anti-fragile in a way, aren't we? Because if somebody says to me, I mean, I don't like the fact that you're not teaching women, it's what are they really going to do to enforce that, right? Whereas if you're Hollywood, you know, obviously just the amount of money that's involved and the people lobbying on either side and everything it's really, really difficult for them to withstand.
Well,
that,
I
think.
just talked to a guy who's in film. Actually, I'm not going to name drop him because I don't know if he wants me to or not. But it was yesterday. But he's working on maybe getting an independent film out that is more of a like a romantic comedy, but from a red pill kind of perspective. And so he's working on doing that as an independent film. So, I mean, if that takes off, I mean, we'll see, you know, if the market's for it. Because I think it's the risk too. It's not wanting to take that risk. You know what I mean? And to step outside of a narrative. But yeah, it's just whatever. It's harmful, but you're right. You know, Ryan, too. You just protect your own circle. That's the answer. You know, for something actionable. I mean, I just watch old movies and I don't care what movies are coming out, or when I see it, I see it from that red pill lens or whatever, and I go about my life. It doesn't really affect me, but you know, it's just an interesting observation.
Oh yeah, it would be nice. I'll put it this way: Terrence Popp, big MGTOW guy, red pilled. He's in like 5 movies right now. They're all like small movies. He made them
Independent film,
himself.
yeah.
Was
And
an
you
actor.
guys know he's misogynistic as shit. So I'm
Yeah,
Was
like,
an
he is.
actor.
yeah, as an actor,
Oh,
it's
really?
crazy. Yeah, I didn't know this either. Same way as I was talking about Servy doing the Playboy magazines and shit. At least I hope it's Servy. I might have got the name wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's him doing it. But you know what I mean?
The guy's
as
a
a
really
solution.
cool person in real life too. I don't know. I've always
John's
wanted-
telling us Dana's basically acting like a controlling bitch of an ex-wife, and so he's like, yeah, fuck it. I'm just going to train my own guys and do my own thing. Working out well for him. Troy's like, yeah, well, you know, I don't want to use this as an example, but I just need to set one. Like, RSD's inviting chicks to do the coaching, and they're talking about feelings and tanning your asshole. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to stick to what works and
Yeah.
carve out my success there. And I would argue that's a
100%.
solution for guys.
that is
if
the
there's-
solution.
Yeah, if there's a problem with male spaces, go make a male space.
Make your own space. That's what I do. I just do my own thing. It's like the pandemic. Everyone's complaining about the pandemic. I didn't care. I had places to go. I would, you know, we had speakeasy bars. I had time on the lake that summer. Whatever, man. Like I can't change what the government's doing. I can just control what I'm doing. You know?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well, and do you guys have examples other than yourselves of like guys you've seen doing this? For me, it's not a lot, but that's because most of the guys I know are still in the military or switched to corporate, so they're kind of still in the phase where they're like done with it and trying to carve out little trips with us as we go out. But that's about it. But I'm curious if you guys see this in your life now, outside of your own personal thing.
Probably not really. I mean, like it's because most
Maybe it's hard.
spheres. Well, actually, I mean, the one thing I will say is that I'm sitting here in Moscow at the moment, and of course, it's a very different story here. I mean, a lot of what you guys are talking about here, you're talking about Canada, you're talking about America, you're talking about the UK, you know, the Anglosphere. Very different story when you.
Yeah,
come to
they're not
Moscow.
slamming on masculinity quite so much over in Russia. From
Yeah,
my
what is it
from
like
what I
over
can
there?
tell.
I mean, I was just trying to think if there's any examples of male spaces. I mean, there probably is. We haven't encountered anything yet, but
The whole
Is it
country, isn't it?
spaces.
yeah, well, the whole country's a male space. It's
Poland's
just a
like that
much.
too.
A lot of the things that we talk about on here, and a lot of the societal stuff that you know we talk about or gets talked about a lot in the manosphere or whatever. It just doesn't really apply over here in the same way. Do you know what I mean? It's just the society's very, very different. A lot of this stuff is very culturally based, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Eastern Europe, even, you know, too. If I noticed, I'm not like this world traveler like you, Troy, but I've been over there.
Wow.
And what I noticed though is, man, like Poland and like Ukraine, even like Czech and stuff. It's they don't have the same disregard for traditional masculinity that we do in other places. Even in the military, like the Polish military, didn't have the same
Well,
set of dumb rules, I guess. I don't know. You know what I mean? Instead of sensitivity, oversensitivity. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And they're just not indoctrinated with feminism quite so much.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, one thing that we've noticed already, just from going around and talking to some girls here and things like this, is that there is certainly a greater degree of submissiveness, maybe, or at least
Yes.
you can walk up to some very attractive women here and go and have a conversation with them, and even if they don't like, they're not going to go home with you or anything like that, but they're still respectful, generally speaking.
So they got good girl game.
They'll have a conversation. They're not going to be. We were talking about this earlier because I approached like a group of 3 girls, pretty attractive, and if you do that in London, it might go okay, but there's a good chance one of them's going to just be a bitch, or they're going to look at you like you're a piece of crap or whatever. And these girls, it just doesn't really happen in the same way. Even if she's really beautiful, she stands there and she's like, okay, this is and it's much more pleasant from that point of view.
Dude, they embrace their femininity so much more, and they have a lot more power with their femininity in these other places, and they're a lot more attractive. I noticed, like, especially with like Polish women and some even in South America too, it's like they don't have this entitled mindset of, these guys need to like me even though I don't work out and I've gained 50 pounds, and you know what I mean? They don't have this entitled mindset where they big is beautiful or whatever. Like, they understand.
I was going to say they're just not fat.
Yeah, well, but they're not. But why aren't they fat? They're not fat because they know they have to bring something to the table to a relationship to a man, and they understand what that is. And part of that's their looks, their health, their attitude, their femininity, how they make another person feel. Like, they have an understanding that as a woman, to be respected and considered pleasant by men, a potential mate, as well as just regular society, they have to do a certain amount of work and embrace the feminine aspects of themselves. They grew up that way, and they have that understanding, and they bring that to the table. And let me tell you, any small percentage of Western women watching this, these girls got you beat tenfold. Like, I mean, it's these girls are attractive, and they know how to make a man feel good, man. Like, I thought game was on easy mode when I was in Poland. I was like, holy crap.
That's the thing I was going to push back on. Like, I've known a few Polish girls that came here from the motherland, and absolutely, like, just like you described, very good girl game, pleasant, just like Troy's saying, but yeah, definitely on the ruthless side. So I would never say that that's a timid submissiveness. I'd say it's submissiveness in the same way that John looks at you happy he's going to have a fight with you in a minute.
Well, yeah, they still have their imperative. They still, you can don't go mail order a bride from Europe and think you're going to be okay. She'll have.
Well, why did I send Troy over there if not to get me one?
Damn it!
I've got a few possibles lined up. I've got a few potentials.
Thank you.
Yeah, they still have a female. They still have their imperative. And if you show up and your game sucks and you don't know how to maintain frame and don't know how to set standards for yourself, you get killed. You get walked on in that marketplace, just like anywhere else. But the difference is they do know how to show up, be more attractive, and they don't have quite the same entitlement mentality that feminists have. You know what I mean?
It's not the same sort of attitude and
right
that you would get in the West.
It's crazy how rare we're talking about just being pleasant as some kind of like female superpower.
Dude, I know, but it's so true though.
Oh, yeah, sorry, John. I know you're in California. I didn't mean anything by it.
I matched with this girl the other day. We go on a date like Wednesday night or something.
Yeah.
And I picked a place, told her to go, and she's like, "Oh, pick some more clothes and whatever." So I chose a different city.
Your mic, sorry, man, your mic got too loud. I can't hear you.
It's killing you. Yeah, it's killing you, John. Can you hear that?
It was the best part of the story.
I know. I want to hear this, but the mic is not great.
Wait, talk now. Talk, yeah, man. I can't hear a thing. God damn it.
Man,
I know.
And I love it. We're going to contrast Troy telling us a great story about like this pleasant Russian girl. She wasn't for it, but it was great conversation. Then John like, yeah, this bitch just called me a fucking cunt. And all I asked her for was excuse me, I have to pick up my wallet.
That's it though. It's back to that it's that entitlement mentality that a lot of women have in the West. Yeah. And it's what makes them show up. Hey,
John, are you on now?
Oh, Hey, go tell the
Is that
story.
better now?
Yeah, it's
Way
perfect.
better.
Yeah, so that's it.
Okay.
I want to hear the rest of your story.
No,
chick
yeah.
in
So
California.
she said, "Oh, pick somewhere closer to me," because she's like up in Palo Alto, and it's like it's like 40. It's whatever. And so I picked a city that's closer, and it was an extra 15 minutes for me to drive. And she's like, "Oh, well, thanks, buddy. That saves me. It's a 20-minute, 25-minute drive rather than a 30-minute drive now. But no thanks." And I was just like fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
didn't even have a phone. Like, I'm just like, how entitled are you? Like, we're gonna meet for drinks. I'll probably buy you dinner, maybe. And it's like, I'm driving this farther than you to have to get there. I'll take an Uber, but like, I'm going further than you to get there. And it's like, I don't know. It was just ridiculous.
Well,
And it was
it's
just the attitude and like oh my God, I can't believe you would pick.
Well, Troy,
Unpleasant
you always talk
and
about this
shitty.
like as an investment
Exactly.
thing, right? Like you try to get investment from the girl, and it just sounds like she
Yeah.
felt so full of herself that she didn't even want to make any amount of effort, even if she wasn't
Exactly.
interested.
No, you
I know,
have to
Troy.
come
Break
all
it
the way
down.
up
You're
to me.
the coach.
I just trailed off then. Sorry, I was just thinking about. I bumped into a bloody lamppost today. Right, this is the quality. This is the quality of the women over here. Right, I was walking down the. Seriously, honest to God, this is the quality.
no
I was
joke, dude.
walking down the street. I saw this girl over the street. I was thinking, shall I do an approach? I was thinking, maybe I'll go over there. I was like looking at her, and I said, it was smack bang into a lamppost, straight on. Really painful. It was
Dude,
really bad.
if it wasn't for my I'm happy with my LTR, right? If it wasn't for that, I was gonna go to Poland for like 90 days. Like that was like what I was gonna do, just because the quality of just the looks and the way that they behave. And it's really more of the behavior. Like you have genetic quality here in the United States. I'm sure in Europe. It's a matter of taking care of yourself. A lot of it. There's so many entitled people. I find that the men are entitled too, but I'm not dating the men, right? So, I'm not, the guys I'm coaching aren't dating men. They're dating women, and the women that they're dating show up with the same mentality that John just described. Like, oh, thanks. So you saved me 5 minutes on the drive. I don't know if I want to show up on the date now. Like, get out of here.
Keep thinking about that fucking lamppost. Do you know what you did? You had the Trudeau opener right there. You guys don't know, Justin Trudeau was the first head of state pickup artist. He had this French thing on the CBC talking about how he would talk to girls. He called it the falling down the stairs routine. That's all I could think about when you hit that post. He'd sit there talking to the girl. This is back when he had like a soul patch and a velvet jacket. And then mid-conversation, he would like go to lean over, but then fall through a doorway and fall down the stairs. And he'd get up and he'd show the reporters like, yeah, and that's how you start an opener. And I was just like,
why is that cool though? Why is that a good opener?
It's a great opener if your dad is like the Kennedy of Canada. I don't know.
Okay.
The lamppost I think would be interesting only because of like just shock value.
Well,
did you see that? That post came out of nowhere, but I don't know if you pulled it off or not. Did you try?
I didn't pull it off very well.
coordinated
Luckily, she was over the other side of the. She was over the other side of the road, so I don't think she saw. But I was just like, oh man, it was just like not good. But that just speaks to the quality over here. The quality is so good that you're just going to walk into things.
Yeah. No, it is. I think the hardest being in a large city, United States. I imagine I've never been to like London. I imagine it's similar, but in like a first world westernized country in a large city is game on hard mode.
Yes.
You have opportunity because there's a lot, right? So you're going to run into hot girls that are not, like that. All right, by numbers, but it is game on hard mode. Generally speaking, I don't know that's been my experience. That's what I've seen. Troy, you've been in different cities all over the world. I mean, oh my God, that's why I laugh at dudes who are like, who are pickup artists. Like, I don't know, I think it was like Roosh and based all of his results in Poland or whatever he was like, he lived in Poland. It's like,
Ukraine,
bro, you didn't have to try over there. Are you kidding me? That's not hard. That you're a master pickup artist, just showing up with some money in your pocket.
They're talking about how hard it is in Miami, because there's so much competition there. I'd say the Bay Area is one of the top hardest places too, because it's
their attitudes suck there. The attitudes in Miami.
Although they don't talk about their degrees and whatever, and I always bring up their student loan debt, and that just tanks the date immediately.
Remember back when you used to ask about a girl's waist size? Now it's like, hey, what kind of debt you holding?
Yeah.
All right. I guess I was going to end it on a positive
I don't want to
note
risk
here.
an accidental pregnancy with some girl who's got $150,000 worth of student loan debt.
Fair
it's like,
point.
I'm a double major and I'm getting my doctorate, and I'm like, oh shit, what's your debt look like?
Dude, It's amazing though, like
Angry face.
women
Yeah.
can step their game up so easily just by being pleasant. Like,
Yeah.
isn't it incredible? Like, really, just by being pleasant and being fit, like two things right there will set them apart. Women who are having trouble in the marketplace finding a good guy, like, be pleasant and be fit. It's like what you go someplace like Detroit out here, you're gonna kill it. You're gonna crush.
Well, dude, David
as a girl,
D'Angelo back in
you
the
know?
day had to put out a video. Troy and I were talking about how he told guys for 20 minutes how to properly wash yourself in the shower. So I think the bar is just set low because people aren't able to reach it.
Wow.
But
Yep.
I guess we're going at the end here. So I was going to throw this one
That's a
at you
good
guys. This is like the
comment.
last piece. Throw this, say what you're working on. Best approach to finding a new tribe, new friends. He's 42 and no one wants to deal with if he's dangerous. I mean, I'll start. We kind of talked about it quickly with Carl. More activities. And then as you do activities, you make friends in those activities. They become activity friends.
Yes.
The guy you go to squash with on the weekends or train at the gym with, maybe you'll grab a beer later. That's a second pivot for a friend. And then maybe that guy invites you out to go watch a movie. He's a big fan of watching the movie The Room. Like, the more pivots you have, the more people you meet from those, and then the more they integrate. And that's kind of how a friendship group kind of manifests. And then the more things you do with individual people, the closer friends they become. That's the way I've found it works. And then as far as me, just check out the channel. Who wants to go next?
So I am in a situation in the Bay Area where it's, you know, I have my group of fighter people who are cool and, you know, are mostly they're not red pill relationships, but they're more like, you know, masculine. So that's comfortable. But like, I've struggled to find people who have more of a red pill lens. So I created a social group on my Patreon, the Smash Society. And you may have to go online and find people who have common interests as you or same mindsets as you in order to set up those similar activities. You know, I'll set up, I will go to the range and I'll have guys come and we'll shoot arrows at the range. We had a whiskey night. Next weekend, we're going to the park in San Francisco and I'm going to teach them some basic self-defense. And then we're going to go out and get some drinks afterwards. So like, I mean, you're going to have to be actively looking in places where there are people who have similar mindsets as you and then try to arrange things, man. It kind of sucks, but like, it's hard, especially with, I have kids, I have business stuff I have to do. Like, I don't have the opportunity to just go out and hang out at random bars and try to find, you know, people who are similarly minded as me. So like, I've used the cheat of the internet and, you know, so far so good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it gives me something to do at least a couple times a month or once a month. And then I got people to talk to.
Fair enough. Well, how do they get to your tribe? Let's throw that in before we switch over to Paul.
Smash Society on Patreon.
Fucking score.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think developing a tribe in a close circle of men is really important. And I think that is something that you need to work on in the same way that Ryan described as a prescription, which is doing more activities and then developing friends off that. But you got to make it a priority because really a group of guys, you know, with similar mindsets will keep you grounded and kind of keep you accountable to yourself too. You know, when guys are a part of the same tribe, you know, our natural instinct is to support other members of the tribe and try to help that guy do better. We might razz each other and stuff like that too. That's part of being in a masculine space, but we're running to elevate each other. We want to see each other do better. And you need a space that will do that. And that's, you know, strictly masculine because the women in your life aren't necessarily going to do that for you. They have other instinctual drives in play, and that might be contradicting or contrary to you in your self-improvement, making yourself better. So, and online is a great way to do that. We can take advantage of a global sexual marketplace, but we can take advantage of global connections as well through the internet. So in absence of dudes you can just go hang out with, the internet's not a bad way to go, at least to get started. I'm over at apexmindset.net, by the way, and on YouTube at Apex Mindset, put out videos every week. And you got book a consultation if you want to talk to me one-on-one through the website. And that's it.
All right. Troy, save the best for last, man.
Best for last. Don't walk into lampposts is the first thing. The next thing is that the internet is your friend, really, I think. I mean, I've never really had people talk about this, you know, how do you make male friends? How do you get into a tribe and stuff? I'm not saying this as a humble brag or anything. This has never really been a problem for me. And the reason it's never been a problem is because I've met friends throughout my life, and I'm in my 40s now. I'm older than you. This guy's 42. And it's because I've got certain interests. One of them is this space, and I've met a lot of friends and people I hang out with through this. But I've got various other interests as well, and I've just met friends through that, you know. And the internet is naturally going to connect you to other people who are into. So it's not really that difficult, you know. We, for example, have a friend here in Moscow now who's been showing us around and taking us to some cool bars and meeting other people through him. He's somebody that we met through the internet. Well, how do we meet him? Well, because he's also, you know, he's interested in dating and all the rest of it, and so he came into James's network, and we met him through that, right? So shared interests, right, and then just seeking those people out online, and you know, meeting them, and then I suppose learning good social skills, because you've got those good social skills. They're going to think you're cool. They're going to introduce you to their friends. You know, it shouldn't really be difficult, I think, in this day and age. You just got to think, what am I interested in? Find those people online, meet up with them in real life, take it from there. In terms of where to find me and so on and so forth, so I'm in Russia at the moment. I'm with my friend James Tusk, who is a dating day game coach, and we're doing lots of crazy stuff over here. And we put out a video this morning. We did a live stream this morning, and we did live approaches while we were doing the live stream. I think this is the first time this has been done. Lots of people have got like infields and, you know, let's see your receipts, bro, and all that stuff. As far as I know, and I could be wrong, but I don't believe anybody has ever done live infields before. And it can't be faked, right? Because this is just literally, you got the camera on. It's like, oh, hang on a minute. I'm going to go and talk to her. Let's see what happens. All right. Warts and all. Okay. This is groundbreaking stuff, and we're going to be doing more of it. I'll stick a link into the chat now so you can see the last video. But just follow me on YouTube. Just type in Troy Francis or look at this link. Follow me on YouTube, and you'll be able to keep up to date with our adventures. And if you want to read some of my books about dating and game, I've got a bundle called Renegade Dating Blueprint, which is only $39 at the moment. Just hit the link under any video, and you'll be able to buy that as well.
Awesome. Just so you guys know, I'm going to put all the links to this stuff in the description, so check it out in the video. Oops, we lost Johnny there. That was Real Zeal. Cheers. I don't know, whatever.